Hello everyone, it's James Seagrace flying solo again, coming to you from the other half of Studio A here. I was getting ready to set up shop here. This is the primetime special, and found out that yet again my stupid dog peed upstairs. So I'm probably going to get rid of the thing tomorrow. I'm not in a great mood, but alas, the show marches on. Week 6 was interesting, to say the least. We had a couple matchups that were looking like they were going to be marquee. We had some matchups, such as the Gambler, who had pretty much an automatic win as he was placing the hopeless Cougar Hunters. Several teams could potentially be vying for this #1 spot. You had TDs and Beer, who was shockingly #1. You had the Dublin Drunks, who were still undefeated. And then you had the Cougar Hunters playing up against the Gambler, who was #4. And again, the Cougar Hunters had not won a game yet. So the question is, who would be #1? Who would be #2? We don't really know. We'll find out, though, as we get it going.
You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life. You're still the one that I...
Alright, we're back. That title video, and as well as that awesome graphic there, probably gives away who is #1, but that shouldn't be too surprising, because if anyone's checked the site, you all know who won that game between TDs and Beer. But there are some surprises in the top 10. Several people made it into the top 10 for the first time. A lot of people fell out of the top 10, unfortunately, and then a few movers and shakers that will surprise you, okay? Now, we're at the point now, I've always said that when it comes to the formula never lies. We've had a few things where, you know, some questionable things were based on points and everything like that, but we're at the point now. Now, there's a reason that the BCS doesn't start until like halfway through the season, and this is why, I think, okay? We've had some odd things with the formula in terms of the top 10, but now it's starting to take out the pretenders, basically. And why is that? As I've said since day one, conference play is more important than anything. So to win your conference games, it's much more important than to lose your non-conference games, okay? So now that conference games are in play, the formula is starting to shake out things a little more accurately. So we will find out the top 10 here in just a minute. But yeah, cannot stress enough, as you get into these playoff or conference play games, bring the wood, especially if you're playing someone who's in the top of your conference. It's very important to do that, okay? So, we're going to try to keep it short tonight. I'm here by myself. It's super late. The Tigers just won, so that's cool. I was in a good mood until I found out my dog urinated all over the place. But we're going to keep it kind of short. I have a couple new features we're going to run up, but we're going to get right to the top 10, okay? In the top 10, some surprises in here. Number 10, we do have the Nasty Nutria, who are 3-1-1. They have a 1-0-1 conference record, however, so that weird tie was in their conference. They've scored 297 points, okay? They make it in the top 10, not necessarily because of their winning percentage, but because of their not losing percentage. That annoying tie has helped them significantly compared to a loss, and obviously that helps them, you know, greatly as they move up. Now, we'll talk about this in the games of the week here, but dude, Nasty Nutria is owned by Sarah Miller. She has an enormous game against the Dublin Drunks, who, as we all know, is undefeated. They never get any respect. If they can knock out, they control their own destiny pretty much. If the Dublin Drunks can knock out Nasty Nutria this week, they may be able to just rest all their players one week and not use anyone. That's how far ahead they'll be in that conference, okay? Number 9, another newcomer to the top 10, is none other than the Detroit Fat Boys. Fat Boys are 4-1. They have a 1-0 conference record. They've scored I skipped ahead. Fat Boys are 3-2. They have a 2-0 conference record, and they've scored 307 points. 2-0 conference record, really vaulting the Fat Boys forward. And of course, that graphic shows the pictures of the Fat Boys, the rap group. I'm willing to bet, based on Larry Weinberg's history, he's referring to the motorcycle type. But he did say the Fat Boys are hungry. Motorcycles don't eat people. Fat people eat people. At least pizza. So yeah. Up next this week, Fat Boys can look to continue their winning ways as they face off against the Moose Knuckles, who are 1-3-1. Not really a threat, but as you saw in that opening graphic, a lot of shit can happen in 1 week. Hence the Kenny Rogers head on a fishing hook. Number 8, another newcomer coming out of absolutely nowhere, Vic in a box. Josh Griner I've never met you personally, but I know you're one of Frazier's guys. Excellent job. Very quietly. Started off 0-1. Has won 4 straight games, including this last week. I mean, 46 points was enough to beat the Broskis. Broskis, Josh Harris, you were on the top 10 for many weeks, actually, but now you've kind of become just a complete afterthought, kind of like my dog will be tomorrow, unfortunately. So, yeah. You've only played the one conference game, Vic in the Box. Next week you play another conference game against a team that has literally the exact same stats as you. Vic in the Box, 4-1, 1-0 conference record, 274 points. They're number 8. Number 7, the Brazilian Bare-Ass Baboons, 4-1, 1-0 conference record, 274 points. You're probably thinking, James, why is one team 7, why is one team 8? Well, here's why. Because the number 7 team is my team, and I'm pulling rank, saying that the commissioner's team is actually one spot hotter than you because, well, I'm awesome. Sweet Minecraft shirt, I know. Yes, they will actually, here's the funny thing. Not only are these two teams like identical, literally, in record and points and in the same conference, they actually face each other next week. Number 7 versus number 8, identical teams. That'll be in the game of one of the games of the week for sure, too. Number 6, the Gambler. 3-2 record, 1-0 in conference. They scored 322 points. The Gambler was absolutely hunted down by the Cougar Hunters last week. Everyone figured, oh, it's the Cougar Hunters. They're terrible. They haven't won anything. The guy didn't even have his lineup in at like 750. Yet, lo and behold, they put in Peyton Manning, who scored 30 points last week, and a way to beating down the Gambler, certainly showing him when to fold him, and he folded like a lawn chair. So, the Gambler falls a little bit, but it wasn't that devastating of a blow to them because it is actually a non-conference game. If you're going to lose games at this point, it's not a bad deal if it's a non-conference game. So Gamblers 3-2, but they're 1-0 in their conference, 322 points. Okay. So that brings us to the top 5. Now, I've been getting some comments from various people on Facebook, mainly one person named Matt Francisco, that I don't give this number 5 team enough love. The Kandarian Demon Moose. They're 4-1. They're 1-0 in their conference. Scored 298 points. You had an amazing Week 1 performance where you used Adrian Peterson, and you got all kinds of love. You made the title graphic of the Commissioner's Corner. So don't tell me you're not getting love. To get love, you have to actually do something extraordinary, such as win, and win big. And, you did that. You went 1-0, which was good. You kind of fell off, I think, in Week 2, maybe it was Week 3. I don't remember. I don't have all the stats in front of me right now. But you kind of fell off, and you kind of became irrelevant. There was a lot of teams in that conference who were vying for that top spot. Well, guess what? You have only lost that one game. So now you are 4-1. And, I mean, this week you have an absolutely monumental chance to just very, very solidly cement yourself on top of this conference. Because you are playing the as aforementioned Gambler, who's number 6, who's number 2 in your conference. So if the Kandarian Demon Moose can win that game, that'll go a long way towards helping them get the train rolling to win that conference. So, I mean, what is this? I've gone over the top 5 teams, or I guess 5 through 10 technically, and 3 of these teams, 3 of the games are of, we got 5 versus 6, we got 7 versus 8, and we also have 10 facing wherever Dublin's going to fall. So if you talk about huge, it doesn't get any huger than this. No way. Number 4, I'll tell you another team that has vaulted just tremendously would be Now You See Me, Now You Don't. They're 3-2, which isn't great, but they are 2-0 in the conference, and they have scored an impressive 329 points. Now, Frazier has said that he doesn't really come to play until conference play. And a lot of people feel this way, but he definitely backs it up. He's gone 2-0 in conference play, including just an incredible game last week against the Potterville Pussycats, which actually was probably the most intriguing game of the week. He had to have Matt Ryan, I believe, come in and save the day on Monday Night Football in order to narrowly defeat the Potterville Pussycats, who were actually winning that conference at the time. So it set them plummeting all the way out of the top 10. So, I mean, great job to Frazier. He's gone up to number 4. Now, number 3, this guy just can't get any respect. The Dublin Drunks. Number 3, they're 5-0, and they're 2-0 in conference. They've scored 299 points. How in God's name are they number 3? Well, the formula's starting to prove even stronger now, okay? Here's how. They, I don't know, only scored 47 points last week, but luckily for them, it was enough to win. They played old tire slinger himself, Dan Walter, who, by the way, I've worked my last day with today at Sprint. I will miss you, Dan. I know you enjoy these podcasts. I'm going to miss talking about them, but I'll keep the tradition alive. I'll mention you whenever you do something relevant, such as not beating the number 2 team in the nation when they score 47 points. You better believe that makes you relevant, Dan, because 38 teams in the country outscored Dublin this week. He would have lost to 38 teams, but not you. You scored 43 points, Dan. So, I salute you for your good service. You've been a good friend, and hopefully I'll continue to see you. But that was a miserable performance. Hopefully you're better at selling tires than you are at making lineups and beating number 2 teams, because that was an embarrassment. Absolute embarrassment. This week, Jeff, I'm going to talk to you directly here, okay? I know I told you a couple weeks ago when you're playing the Broskies to bring your A game. The Broskies are an afterthought at this point. Sorry, Josh. You need to bring your A game this week. Sarah's going to fire everything she has at you. You need to... If you win this game, you are going to be so far ahead of the second place team, it's laughable. You literally could not start anyone significant next week and be fine. Although you might try to press Magic Mike Plate for the record of going 10-2. Who knows? But yeah, bring the wood and you will be just fine. So Sarah, obviously you want to make a lineup equally as awesome. Number 2, I don't remember where they were last week, but Derp, who I believe is Tyler Aldridge, maybe? Sorry, man. There's like 30 people that Frazier referred to this league. I don't remember who's who. But yeah, 4-1, 2-0 in conference. They've scored 345 points. So that's 46 points more than the undefeated, I don't know why these quotes, they are legitimately undefeated Dublin Drunks. So yeah, you've won 3 games in a row, and you've looked impressive in every single win, man. You actually are fully deserving of the number 2 spot, I will tell you that. I mean, you are the only other team to go 4-1 and be 2-0 in your conference. That's why you're so much higher than the other teams that are 4-1, because they've only played 1 conference game. So great job, which of course means no drum roll this week. We know who the number 1 team is, as evident by the Shania Twain opening there. TDs and Beer, 4-1, 2-0 in the conference record, 367 points. Now, keep in mind, TDs and Beer, you keep winning, but your points are kind of coming down a little bit. Last week you only scored 60 points, which would have lost to I believe 18 teams in the league. You went 60-53 over the Somerset Slammers. If Derp outscores you by 23 points this week, which may happen, could Derp be number 1? It's possible. By the way, Derp plays the KZoo Crazies next week. They're 3-2. That's a pretty big game for them, actually. And then TDs and Beer, if the luck continues, you'll be playing the Dirty Mark Sanchez, who at one point was undefeated. He was victimized by Miley Cyrus in the Wrecking Ball video edition of the Commissioner's Corner. So, pretty relevant team, but not so much anymore. Now this brings us to the bottom 10. This is where things are significantly different than they were before, because conference record, it'll make you or it'll break you. Okay? Gone are a lot of the teams from the bottom 10 that were in there last week because of the fact that they won a conference game one way or the other, okay? So, here are the deal. Here are the teams. Number 45, Troy pulling out on you. 2-3, but 0-2 in their conference. Number 46, my own Providence Power. 2-3, but 0-2 in their conference. And they've scored 259 points, by the way. Number 47, already talked about him, gave him great love, but not for his football team. The Convicts, Dan Walter's team. 2-3, 0-2, 255 points. It's on like in Damacan. Yes, that's right. 2 Seagraves in this list. 2-3, 0-1, 238 points. Number 49, the Wyans, which I believe is Gary King's team. 1-4, 0-2, but they have scored 296 points, which is actually pretty impressive, Gary. I will give you that. Number 50, the High Steppers, 1-4, 0-2, 271 points. Number 51, make that 3 Seagraves. Ypsilanti, potentially 4. Ypsilanti Pipsqueaks, 1-4, 0-2, 268. Kale Seagraves, Aaron Seagraves' brother, apparently has decided to co-own this team. Even though when I asked him up north if he wanted a team, he sounded excited. But then he didn't mention a thing about it until I saw him at his birthday party. Whatever, if you're going to do it, that's cool. Number 52, time to turn it up. Formally, finger looking good. 1-4. By the way, I don't like changing your team name in the middle of the season, dude. What's up with that? 1-4, 0-2, 266 points. Number 53, this one totally is balls for this guy. Cougar Hunters, who had a huge win over the Gambler, falls all the way down to 53 because as the conference thing starts shaking up, that game was not a conference game, so it didn't help you very much in the grand scope of things. 0-1 in the conference, 252. And then, of course, 54, the last person to have not won a game after, 5 weeks? Colorado Mountain Oysters, Denny Tyson's squad, 0-5, obviously 0-1 in the conference. That's one good thing. They played one conference game. That's actually not even possible. So it's 0-2 must be in conference. Yeah. No, 0-1 in conference. Never mind. I don't know. I'm an idiot. It's late. 257 points. Anyway, not an impressive showing there, Dennis. So yeah. Games of the week coming up in week 6. I've already mentioned them actually, so it's been no big surprise. In the Jeff Lebowski Conference, you have number 3 Dublin versus number 10 Nasty Nutria. Dublin's 5-0, Nasty Nutria's 3-1-1. Jeff, I feel like I'm, on Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind or something, which I've never even seen, but I know what the movie's about, hence the reference. Dublin, if you win this, it's enormous. If you lose it, it's not a huge deal, really, but if you win it, it's enormous. Ron Burgundy Conference Game of the Week. Number 5, Kandarian Demon Moose. There's some more love for you. Versus number 6, The Gambler. Another chance to put it away. If the Gambler wins that game, all hell's going to break loose. If Kandarian Demon Moose wins, they're going to be guaranteed on top by like a minimum 1.5 games. And finally, the Kirk Lazarus Conference has number 8, Vic in a Box versus number 7, Brazilian Bare Ass Baboons, a.k.a. my team. Try it. Bring it. I know you've already used Peyton Manning, so tough luck there. By the way, this is something that someone had actually called me just before I made this podcast. I'm a commissioner, but in case you don't know, you actually can't, anyone can do this. This is not some commissioner privilege. You can see who started who. Okay, I don't know if you're aware of this. This might be an inside edge, perhaps, you might think, but it's right there on the site. If you go to, at the very top, there's a spot that says For Owners. If you hover over that, you go down to it says Reports. Hover down from that, you go to Player Reports, Starter Points by Player, and you can actually choose what franchise and what position. You can see who they've started so far this year. That does not mean it does not show who they're starting this week, but you at least know, because I had to do the research to see if this guy started Peyton Manning, which unfortunately is not. And Peyton Manning plays the Jaguars this week, so yeah, look for an ass-beating Vic in the Box, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm starting Peyton Manning against you, because I'd be a fool not to. So, watch him suck. But yeah, I doubt it. So yeah, there's that. Now, the other thing I want to do that's a little new this week, because, I know there's no one to talk to here. By the way, guess on my son's Skylanders, there's hundreds of them behind me here. As you can see, there's just like a sea of Skylanders up in this section of the studio here. Skylanders Swap Force comes out October 13th, so for those of you who have kids, or you just like to play some video games, they are pretty sweet. Don't have anything behind me except for my TV, so that's why I figured we'd throw these guys out here just for kicks. Anyway, so something real quick I want to do is I'm going to look at the top 5 teams, and I'm going to see who's in the best shape based on quarterback only, okay? So, I'm going to tell you, because of that report I was telling you about, this is the perfect segue, minus that weird Skylanders and thing. Hey, by the way, Francisco, this guy right here you sold me, I don't know if you knew this, he's worth a ton of money, by the way. His name's Ghost Roaster. If you have another one, I'd recommend making sure he's in good shape, because if you sell him, he goes for like $80 on eBay. I did not know that when I bought that, though, I promise you. So, speaking of Francisco and the old Ghost Roaster, $82 on eBay, the Kandarian Demon Moose, number 5, they're 4-1, obviously. He has not started many people at quarterback. He started Andrew Luck, He started Matt Ryan on a team that's just garbage. The Falcons are just terrible. If you didn't watch that game last night, now they've lost Julio Jones, so he made out using Ryan already because most people aren't going to use it now. He used Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, and Colin Kaepernick. So it's Luck, Ryan, Russell, Newton, Kaepernick. One great quarterback there, Andrew Luck, I would say. 4 not so great ones, really. Frazier, number 4. Now you see me, now you don't. You are definitely in the worst position of the top 5 teams, I'll tell you right now. Why is that? Oh, you've used Andrew Luck, who is a great quarterback. You've also used Jay Cutler and Matt Ryan. But then you've used these 2 guys named Drew Brees and Peyton Manning. Ouch. So I'm assuming you've used Brees and Manning the last 2 weeks, which is what helped you propel into the top 5 now. So yeah, you've used some pretty high quality players at quarterback there, man. So Dublin Drunks, aka the undefeated team, you've used Cam Newton, Michael Vick, and then Sarah, you might be scouting this. Cam Newton, Michael Vick, Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck, and Ben Roethlisberger. Not many people have started him for obvious reasons. So Sarah, gotta warn you, Peyton Manning hasn't been used by this guy. So yeah, hopefully you haven't used him either. Team number 2, Derp. This is hilarious. He started Andrew Luck and Phillip Rivers, who are both, marquee fantasy quarterbacks, I would say. He's also used Russell Wilson. Which a lot of people use Russell Wilson. Andy Dalton, not a bad player. I mean, I understand you got to use him early. Ready to get hilarious, though. This guy, and I'm assuming this is one of the games he lost, actually has cashed in and capitalized on Josh Freeman. He used Josh Freeman earlier in the year. Probably not a lot of people are going to use him now, although he is with the Vikings. Who knows if he'll start. And then we get to TDs and Beer, who I say has used a whole bunch of good players. They actually haven't used that many good quarterbacks, though. When you look at it, he's used Andrew Luck, he's used Phillip Rivers, which I believe every single team in the top 5 has used Andrew Luck. That's kind of crazy. Most of them have used Phillip Rivers as well. He's also used Matthew Stafford. He has used Peyton Manning, though. That's a big blow to him. And he's also used Tony Romo, who, by the way, also had a stellar game last week. And if you didn't watch that Denver-Dallas game, you really were denied something special. That was an incredible game to watch. Even as I had kids running all over the place, I was like, oh my God, this game's crazy. 51-48, I believe the final score was. It was impressive. So, yeah, that's it for the Commissioner's Corner this week. Not a lot of energy, not a lot of banter with other idiots next to me. Hopefully next week Richard will be back. We have heard from Richard. He did not get abducted, as so many thought, and sold into slavery. 12 Years a Slave comes out soon, by the way. It looks incredible. He just was not available. So, he should be back next week, we hope. Yeah. So, don't forget, Skylanders, October 13th. Have a good one, guys, and peace out. Hopefully we'll come from the regular studio next week. See ya. Yeah, my sweet Michigan State pants.